Welcome to another episode, Middle Ground with L.L.C, where we treat you like family. That's the theme song, Detroit Love, off my first album, The JL Experience. I want the music and copyright. Don't mute on Facebook. I was going to say that. We got another great guest for you today. We have Kingdom Principle-based business strategist, wealth builder, corporate organizational culture advisor, empowerment speaker, founder and CEO of Fortify, the business launch firm, Trudi B. Parson, MSHS. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Listen, I'm super excited to be here. I've seen a couple of your shows and you make people feel like family. So listen, I feel like I'm at home. So thank you for having me at the table.
Oh no doubt. First question, what led you to this path?
So when you say what led me to the path, it's kind of a two-part question for me. So what led me to the path, first of all, of entrepreneurship, I really have to think about the first answer would honestly be when I was faced with having to make a decision as to whether to take my daughter to who was a baby at the time with 102 fever, whether I could take her to the doctor or whether I had to continue to work and make somebody else's dream a reality, or I continue to stay on their job. And, you know, was I going to get points, or was I going to lose my job, or was I going to be able to take my daughter to the doctor? In that moment, I decided that I knew then I was going to have to make a choice, and I was going to have to decide to choose my family and to choose me. And that was the life that I wanted to live. So that's why I chose the path of entrepreneurship. I knew that for me, I was not going to be able to live a life where I had to ask to go to the bathroom, or I had to ask, I'm grown years old now, right? So if, my stomach is saying I'm hungry, I need to be able to get up and go get me something to eat. If I have to go to the bathroom, I need to be able to get up and go to the bathroom. If my daughter is sick and I tell you I need to take her to the doctor, I don't need to have a meeting with you about whether or not I can take my kid to the doctor. In that moment, in that office, when she said to me, if you leave today, after I told her my baby has 102 fever, if you leave today, you don't have a job. Oh, okay. So that's what led me to the path of entrepreneurship. So I was working there at the time, but I also had, something else going on, but it wasn't going on in such a way that I could say, all right, I'll just leave. But I had a daughter who had a fever, and when it came between your dream and my kid, it's always going to be my kid. And so that led me to the path of entrepreneurship. Now, if you're asking me, I've always been like grown. So
I see
lot of decisions that maybe some people won't make and maybe some people shouldn't make, but maybe I had some decisions I shouldn't have made, but I was just grown. Okay, so let's just say that. But if you ask me what led me to the path of being a business launch coach, and maybe Kingdom Principle based business launch coach, I'll just tell you that I know that the Kingdom Principles of the Bible, I know that those principles work. It's a firm foundation that's not going to fail you, right? No matter what comes externally, those foundations do not fail. And more than 24 years ago, my mother started a tax preparation business after working years for H&R Block and seeing how that company was failing a lot of its clients. And I started working for and with her. And in 2011, we lost her. And after we lost her, I took on that client base and built upon that. And then COVID hit, of course, and a lot of those clients, more specifically my business clients, they were starting to panic, in which, of course, COVID pandemic is, has the word panic built into that. And so you expect people to panic. And my business clients, they were. And I helped those clients start to pivot, and those clients and other people who were looking to me for a way to pivot. And what I found out is I had been coaching people all along the way anyway, over lunch, I want to pick your brain. People say, I want to pick your brain, right? So people have been picking my brain for years. I just was not monetizing. And so, God tells us to take a look, check what do you have in your house already? Uh, what do you already have? And that's what I know to be true, is that God has already given us everything that we need to do what it is that we need to do. And I started to take personal inventory. And that's what put me on the path to first entrepreneurship, right? I was grown, made a grown person's decision that I'm not going to ask for permission to keep my kid alive and get the help that she needs or to go to bed, all the things. I'm not going to do it anymore. And and that doesn't say that I didn't work for anybody else after that, because I did, but it was in a way that I could call more of the shots. And eventually I did retire myself from the classroom. I went on to be an educator, and then I retired myself from the classroom. That's another conversation. But I did decide to become a business launch coach because people needed me to coach them to success and to show them how to pivot. And I'd been doing it all along, and then I started to monetize from it.
Okay. I forgot to do the prayer. Is it okay if I do it real quick?
Absolutely.
All right. Heavenly Father, we come to you, have another great show, another great guest, the right vibe, the right conversation, share the journey, help others find their purpose. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I want you.
Thank you for that.
So you kind of covered a lot of it already. Why did you call it Fortify?
So Fortify comes from securing what you have on the inside from things that are external. So, and because we were going along in COVID, it was important to me to teach people how to secure your lifestyle, your livelihood internally, no matter what was happening externally. It doesn't matter what's happening externally if you are securing your life internally, right? So you're fortifying it from the inside out, and you're doing that spiritually, emotionally, financially, politically. Not me telling you how to vote. Like, all these components help you to fortify your house, but it's not me telling you how to vote, but me telling you to show up in one way or the other. Connect with your city, vote locally, make sure that you're knowing who you're voting for, do your research, do your due diligence, and make sure that you're showing up. Spiritually, make sure that you're connecting with God. Financially, make sure you're getting your financial matters in order. Make sure that you are becoming financially free and time free at the same time, because if you're not time free, you're still not free. If you're making a lot of money, but you're working yourself to death to maintain what you're earning, you're still not free. And I believe that we're supposed to be free, 100% free, financially and time free. And, being financially free is really not a whole lot about the money. It's more about the options that money create. And that's what Fortify is really about. Fortify is really about securing yourself from the inside out, so that no matter what comes, COVID or the next thing, because there's always going to be a next thing, right? Like, are you prepared for the next thing? Because there's always going to be a next thing. And so if you can make sure that your house is fortified on the inside, like if your job says that you no longer have a job when you go tomorrow, are you prepared for that? What have you done to prepare for that? Have you created something that's going to continue to pay you, right? Have you set up your life the way the wealthy do? Those are the conversations we should be having. Those are the things that we should be doing. So that's why I call it Fortify, so you can secure your house from the inside out.
No, that's great advice, because we don't focus on long-term stuff. We just get the latest fashion or whatever that's out, because I want to be flossing, let them know. But there ain't nobody else really going to buy that if you try to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to be thinking about finances and wealth and building it. Have something for rainy day. Like parents used to tell us back in the day. Don't spend all your money, just some back. You might want to get something tomorrow.
Absolutely. And you need to become your plan A. Like, your job is not your plan A. There's just a couple towns over from where I live, there's a place who fired or let everybody go through a text message. Told them not to come in the next day because they no longer had a job. And not only that, they told them not to come in because you no longer have a job. But not only do you no longer have a job, if you left any items here on the property, you can't even come to collect those. And I think about people who have been there. Most people work over 40 years to retire on 40% of what they have earned. What about the other 60% of your bills? Those are not decreasing because you retired. But I think about people who have been on that job 40 years and they probably gave an ink pen to. Like, this is my soapbox. Okay. So let me just write it out for a second.
This show's about you. Go ahead, do you?
But they are allowing people, but they sent those people a text message, probably after they gave them an ink pen or a lapel pen, probably not even a blazer or a jacket or a windsuit or nothing, and sent them a text message and told them, you don't have a job here. And if you left anything here, you can't even come to collect it, and put security people in front of the gate to make sure they did not come. And so this is so disrespectful. But these are the people that you see checking receipts because they can't afford the medicine that they are now on because they were under so much stress going to a job that they probably really didn't even like anyway. And these are people who worked their whole entire life to get a text message to say you don't have a job anymore. So listen, if you think your job is your plan A, you are absolutely wrong because you are not their plan A. The best thing you can do for yourself is to not work for somebody else's dream because it will easily become your nightmare like it did for those other people. You have to be your plan A and your job has to be your plan B. I'm not telling you to go and quit your job today, but use what you're earning from that job to make an investment in your own dream. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that.
Hey, you good. The show is about you. Do what you do.
Yeah, but it's important. It's important.
That's just so wrong to do people like that.
Yeah, it is, but it's happening all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's, man.
Yeah. And I'm in North Carolina. I'm not sure where are you located?
Detroit, Michigan.
Okay. So in North Carolina, they can fire you without a reason. Like, it can be an unreasonable reason. They don't have to, like, it's a courtesy for them to give you points and to do all of the things. It's a courtesy for them to do that. In the state of North Carolina, the law is that they can fire you without reason. So that it's just a courtesy for them to do all the things that they do. But the law here is that they can fire you without even giving you a reason. So if you live in North Carolina and you have a job, and now that you know that, if you're listening now and you live in North Carolina, now you know that. So knowing now that your job can fire you for no reason, and if you are now not doing anything else to fortify your house, that is a problem. That is a problem. That's not only a problem for you, but the Bible says that a good man leaves a legacy for his children's children. And I'm going to tell you, Jeffrey, what a lot of us do. We say, oh, I'm good. I don't need to do anything else. I can pay my bills. But what about your children's children? Are they good? See, we're not good until our children's children are good, even if they've not even been born yet. Like, if our children aren't even married and had children yet, we still have to think about our children's children. And we may not even live to see our children's children, but the Bible says we still have a responsibility and obligation to our children's children. So what about those kids? And what if they never come? What about the people in your community that aren't good? What about those people? And some people say, oh, I don't have to be wealthy. I don't need to be rich. I have enough. But what about the people that don't have enough that you can overflow into? Malachi says that he'll pour out a blessing where it'll be too much for you to receive, which speaks to community. So now that overflow can go into your community. What about your community that needs the overflow? So you say you have enough, but what about the overflow that can go into your community? See, we have to think beyond ourselves. We have to think beyond ourselves. And that's why we need more. It's not because you're trying to be greedy, but it's because the people outside of your house, they need something that you can provide too.
Since I rebooted my show and it's been growing, I'm looking at legacy. So
yeah,
this got to be around the whole planet. They got to know the middle ground. I got to be able to get my building, have other people doing different shows, get my nonprofit going. My hand need to be all around this boy, so I know I did my best to use my purpose to help people.
Absolutely. We have a responsibility to do so.
For sure. You spicy, I like it. I don't play down there. Now, what is a corporate organizational culture advisor?
So if you think about, and if you've ever worked for anybody else, and you think about the culture of a company, how it feels like the way it's kind of the way that we do things here, right? It's the feel of a company, the feel on your job, or the way it's ran, the way people feel when they work for that job, and then the way it feels when all those things kind of crumble and go wrong. When there's a huge disconnect between administration and the workers or the employees, but also if you know how that feels when there's a huge connection between those and there's an easy flow, right? The company makes more money than they normally make. People are happy to come to work. Your turnover is not as high. All of those things take place when things are in sync. And the culture of the company is well explained. People know what it is. People know how things are supposed to go here. People are welcoming. People are free to communicate with administration. That is proper organizational culture in the atmosphere of a corporation. But when that is not happening, money is usually not right. The teams are not functioning the way they're supposed to be, and they usually bring people in like me to set the atmosphere right again.
Okay. So I know when I was a custodian at Wayne State, a lot of my coworkers always say how management didn't show we mattered. And, I appreciate you will go a long way. So when I moved up to be a custodial supervisor, I took a lot of them stories to build the type of culture I have with my team where the job is just sanctuary. Because you never know what people are dealing with at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave it the term Candyland from that old game back in the day,
Yeah.
where customer satisfied, do a little work, crack a joke, go home.
Yeah.
Basic cool day. And
Yeah.
it took a while to build it because some people don't like change. But once I built
Mm-hmm.
it, it's a cool environment. And I think some
Absolutely.
companies don't think about that. Like, well, I'm giving you a paycheck. That's thanks enough. No, that's not. Because anybody can do the job, but doing the job with character does matter.
It does. It absolutely does. And if you want people to perform well for you, I believe that you can get people to do almost anything you want them to do if you treat them right.
Mm-hmm.
If you treat
That's so
them
true.
right. And then it's just the right thing to do, humanity, and to ask them, do surveys quarterly about how they feel about administration, get feedback on yourself, even if you are in administration, being honorable to people, showing honor, people believe in honoring up, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
show administration or show your boss honor, but what about honoring down to those that are under you? Are you showing honor to those under you? The Bible
Absolutely.
is not, doesn't specify and say, show honor to those above you only. That's not what it says. It talks about honoring everybody. And so when you do that on a job or in a corporation, you'd be surprised at the output you get from people whenever you honor everybody across the board and you ask them questions that they don't even expect you to ask of them because of their position. So those are the types of things corporations would bring me in, and
Okay.
set the atmosphere straight again.
Yeah, because definitely with my team, I was just doing this 2 years ago. I just moved up. I ain't no different than you. Can't do it without you. So I appreciate
Yeah.
you. And that really goes a long way where I got you. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And other people look like your team kind of, because they know I got their back. I'm the shield. You ain't gonna mess with them because we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the part. They heard you say you can't do it without them. And they know it and you know it, but for you to say it and acknowledge that is huge. It's huge for people. And sometimes people in administration, they just are too prideful to say it, and to acknowledge it and to come to terms with it. But honestly, you can't do it without your employees. You can't run a business
Mm-mm.
without your employees. And so that's wonderful that you did it and you got the right response to it.
Yeah, they definitely look out.
Yeah.
Now we're at the point of the show where promote, market, whatever you have going on, coming up. Floor is yours.
All right, so I have a few things coming up. I'm speaking in Vegas the last weekend of April at the Flamingo at the Experience. It's called the Experience. I'll be at the Flamingo, and that is posted on all of my social media. Um, so you could take a look at those social media pages and get the details on that. But it's called the Experience, and it is again the last weekend of April in Vegas at the Flamingo. And then there are a few other things coming up here locally in Greensboro, North Carolina. And there is something on LinkedIn that shows my itinerary. And so, again, the name of my business is Fortify the Business Launch Firm, and it is a comprehensive business coaching firm. And what that means is that we offer everything in-house that the business owner should and could be using. And what that looks like is business coaching, business and individual tax preparation and planning. The planning part is so important. And we do grant discovery and grant writing. We also offer alternative business funding. What does that look like? It means that when the bank says no, most of the time we can say yes. We have 72 underwriters under our wing. And our requirements is not the same as bank requirements. And we do master classes, master courses, the corporate organizational culture reestablishment. And I am, of course, an empowerment speaker. So those are the type of things that I have coming up. We do have some of the master courses, master classes coming up. You can see those promos across the board on social media platforms and on my website. And I think you said my website is, okay, you see my website scrolling across, so you can see any events coming up and master courses, master classes that you can subscribe to there.
Anything else coming up?
That's about it, I believe.
Okay. You ever thought about writing a book?
I have one coming soon. There will be one on the vendor table in Vegas. So it will be out in time for Vegas, which is the end of April.
My spidey sense ain't wrong.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Author. My spidey sense ain't wrong. I sense the fellow author.
Yeah. Of course, there's an instructional one, but I have quite a life story too, right? That's real encouraging. I'm from a really small town. I tell people I'm a small town girl who navigates the city pretty good, but I am from a very small town, and we didn't have a lot growing up, but I watched my parents really dig it out of the dirt, and they came a long way from the time that I was younger and before I got out of their house. But just from when I was younger till about 10, maybe 11 years old, grew up in a really small house where the shingles you put on top of the house, that was our siding, and just quite a story about that. But I really watched them dig it out of the dirt, and so I know what it is to have and to not have, but to have the love and the faith and to watch the hard work. I know what that is. And so I have that quite a story like that, and and just even just some life trials and tribulations that kind of help get you where you are and help you to stand the tough times. So yeah, there are a few books running around in this head, and yeah, they're coming.
Okay. I mean, getting out the mud, it gives you a different type of perspective.
It does. When I think about what really made me stick and stay. So we could talk about really what puts you on the path of entrepreneurship, but what really makes you stick and stay on the path of entrepreneurship, right? And what makes me stick and stay on that path, because being a full-time entrepreneur, now you have to really make a decision about that. And what makes you stick and stay. I remember we had been evicted, and our daughter was probably, I think she may have been possibly 7 or 8, maybe 8 years old. And we had been evicted, and we were staying in a hotel. And I remember she was in the swimming pool, and this other little girl, and I guess they were traveling through the town we were in. And the little girl asked her, where do you live? And I remember our daughter got out of the pool and asked me, Mom, where do we live? And I had to tell her, I don't know. And when I had to tell her I don't know, I decided then too, I'm not ever going to let anybody else determine where we're going to live or whether or not we're going to have a place to live. I'm going to stick it out and I'm going to grind it out, and this will never be our situation again. So when you think about what causes you to stick it out in entrepreneurship, it's situations like that. It's not easy all the time, but it's doable. It's doable. And I know one of the things that you wanted to ask me about was the biggest. Was it the biggest challenge or the impact, or what was it? Was it?
Yeah, biggest challenge on your journey.
Okay, I think the biggest challenge on my journey has been has always been me. I believe that when you think about challenges, it's never anybody else or anything else, right? I feel like it's always you at the end of the day. Like you can pinpoint and say, oh, this happened or that happened or all of the things. But really, when you process the thing that happened or the person that caused or you feel like caused it, it's still going to come down to you. It's still going to come down to how, right at the end of the day. Like some people it takes days to determine that. Some people it takes years to determine that it's you. But at the end of the day, I promise you that is you. So sometimes the issue is you. Okay, so for me, my biggest challenge has always been me. It's always been whether me becoming too comfortable in the current level of success I'm in, or the failure that I'm experiencing, or not celebrating every win or celebrating every win too long. It's always been me, and nobody can, because I feel like nobody can stop me but me. And to be honest with you, when God's hand is on me so heavy, when his hand is really on me, really, really heavy, I can't even stop me, to be honest with you. So it's really, when there's a challenge, the challenge really is me, because you can get over anything that's happening. You can be in the middle of the worst storm and really triumph over that, and the storm can still be going on. And that's how you know it's you. It really comes down to your mindset. See, we filter our experiences through we filter what's happening through the filter of our experiences. So everything that we look at, we filter it through things that we've already experienced. And so you have to think about that too and filter it through what God has already said and what God has promised instead of what you've experienced already. Because it's likely to be different, to be much different.
That's true. And I forgot about this one. What made you want to become an empowerment speaker?
Because I believe that God has already given people the power. They just need somebody to refresh that, right? Like I talk a lot about wealth, and this is what I found. Most of the people who are afraid to talk about money are church folk. They're not afraid, not even just about giving the money, but they're afraid about getting the money, right? But the Bible talks about it in Deuteronomy. He's given us the power to get wealth, but people stop right there. But the rest of that scripture is so much. There's so much in the rest of that people leave out. And it says that he's given us the power to create wealth so that his covenant can be established in the earth. What does that mean for us? It means that we have an obligation to become wealthy. He's given us the power, which means the ability to get wealth, which is resources, so that his covenant can be established in the earth. We have an obligation to become wealthy so that we can partner with him to establish his covenant in the earth. We have an obligation to do this because we are his partners to establish his covenant in the earth. Like, how are we going to go into all the world and you can't go down the street because you can't buy no gas? Like, tell me how that works. It don't. And it's never going to work. It's never, ever going to work.
Nah.
So we have an obligation to use the tools he's given us to access the resources so that the covenant can be established in the earth. That's what that those verses really say. That's what it really means. We've been charged to use it, to get it. So it
Yeah.
made me want to become an empowerment speaker. I've been in ministry since 2005,
Okay.
and I don't know if you can tell, but I've been in ministry since
Yeah.
2005. But what made me want to become an empowerment speaker is because I believe that people need to understand that God gave them the power. I can't give them that. I can't give people confidence. Like you can't teach people confidence, but you can make people competent enough where they become confident, right?
Oh,
The thing about confidence is people that lack confidence, it's usually because they're not competent enough in their skill set or what they know or their experiences to walk in the confidence they wish that they had. But I can equip you enough that you can then walk in confidence, or Godfidence is really what I like to call it. And so
okay.
that's what makes me want to be an empowerment speaker. I want to equip people with the knowledge that they need to be able to walk in confidence to obtain the abundant life that God has promised us all.
Okay. What has been your impact on your journey, in your opinion?
So we know that impact means when one thing forcibly comes in contact with another. So I would say that my impact on my journey has been my decision to succeed forcibly, colliding with the enemy's decision for me to fail and to be consumed by life's circumstances. When about 2 weeks after we had had our youngest daughter, our son, who was two and a half years old, had open heart surgery, and he suffered a stroke shortly after. And again, our daughter was 2 weeks old, and easily, I could have just crashed and burned. But during that time of grieving is when I was actually called into ministry. And I really didn't even want to be here anymore. And so when I think about that specific question, and I think about what my impact is on my journey, my impact on my journey is my decision to say yes to God when I easily could have said yes to the enemy of not even being here anymore. And so that yes to God is the reason that I'm here. And it's the reason that I say yes to the empowerment speaking. It's the reason I continue to show up for people all over the world. It's the reason I do the speaking engagements. It's the reason I show people the pathway to success. It's the reason for everything that I do, because I know it's the reason I'm still here. How do I know that? It's because that's the question that I asked God on that night. Why am I still here? I don't want to be. And that's the reason he gave me. And so that is the impact on my journey. The impact on my journey was the decision that I have to make. Because, when you make a decision, you get rid of the choices. That's when you make a decision. You destroy the choices. And why do you destroy the choices? Because on days when that decision that you make get hard, what we tend to do is revert back to the choices, right? We revert back to the choices that are
Yeah.
easy. And we say, oh, this was too hard. I shouldn't have made this decision. I'll go back. Let me go back and do what the other choices were. So when you truly make a decision, you get rid of the choices. And so that's what I did. I got rid of the choices. And so now I can stick with my decision because I don't have any other choices. I got rid of those.
Yeah, and thankfully that you chose Jesus, because
Yeah.
some people don't. And mental health is an issue. People
Yeah.
call 988. They need help.
Yeah.
And that voice that be talking be real. I dealt with
Yeah.
it back in high school, and God will deal with you where you at. So I'll go
Yeah.
play Tupac Millions World City, put the knife down.
Yeah.
But that voice is real when they start talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
They try to make a lot of sense. Like, just do it. You don't need this.
Yeah. And I knew who God was. Like I was saved, but I was tired. Like it was his third heart surgery. The first one was just a few hours after I had, like the next day after I had him. And I had him in one hospital, and they took him away that same. But I couldn't be moved. I had to stay in one hospital. They took him away to another hospital, and he had his first heart surgery just hours later. So this one was his third heart surgery, his first open heart surgery, and he was 2.5 years old. So it had been a trying time, and we had just, I was just tired. I was tired. I had a 2-week-old baby. I'm sure I was probably dealing with some postpartum, just a lot, right? And I was just, it wasn't that I wanted to die, but I didn't want to live. I don't know if that makes sense. It wasn't that I thought about I wanted to die, but I didn't want to live. I didn't want to. I was tired. I was just tired. And I had thought in my head, you know how people grieve themselves to death? A lot of times we hear about older people doing it whenever and I just thought that's just what I would just do. And I had thought about it. I was like, my sister is 11 years younger than me. She'd be around to help out with our daughter, who is now, our daughter will be 21 this year. I said, my sister's young enough, she'll help out. My mom was still living at the time. And all of these things, I just sat and thought about all of that. And I was sitting in my office, and it was like the biggest angel. I always thought about angels being really, really small. And the biggest angel broke away in my ceiling. It was, I can't even hardly put it into words, the experience I had. But when you have an experience with God, you know it. You know it. Like nobody can tell you any different. You know it. And so I know it. And it changed my life. It did. It changed my life. It really did. And I'm grateful for it. And so I walk it out the best way that I know how, which is in obedience. And it's my honor to do so. It's my honor to do so. Yeah.
My condolences. I'm glad that you are. You helping a lot of people what you're doing.
Yeah.
And last question, what advice do you have for someone trying to find their purpose?
So it's simple. And I hear it a lot. A lot of people say they don't know what their purpose is. How do I find it? I tell people this: whatever area in your life that you have had to not fight like hell, but that you've had to literally fight hell for, that is your life's purpose. Whatever thing you have had to literally fight hell for, that is your life's purpose.
That's dope.
It's simple. It's simple.
Yeah, because Satan don't want you out here doing what you're supposed to do.
Right. It's going to cost you. Yeah, it's going to cost you. And sometimes it's going to cost you everything. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to cost you. And sometimes it's going to cost you everything to lay hold of it. But it may not cost you everything the entire way. But to initially lay hold of it, it may feel like it's costing you everything. But when you get it, you got it. I strongly encourage people, when you are building something, when you realize what it is, to read the entire book of Nehemiah, because it teaches you how to respond to the struggles while you're building something. Read the entire book of Nehemiah, and also read the 12th and 13th chapters of Genesis. Those chapters are going to teach you how to get out of ordinary places, faces, and things to move on to those things of purpose. Chapters 12 and 13 of Genesis will teach you that. And the entire book of Nehemiah will teach you what to expect while you're building something great for God, and how to respond to those who respond negatively to you building something great.
Yeah. Sometimes that journey might be by yourself. You see the vision. Then
and
you bring everybody else.
And it's okay. Yeah.
That is so true. Any final thoughts?
So I think my final thoughts are to be encouraged, like along your journey in doing all of the things. If you're an entrepreneur, or if you desire to be an entrepreneur, if you want to continue working on your job, and you're working your dream job and you love what you do, there's a way to do that and to also own something great. Do both. You can absolutely do something. You can absolutely do both. Build some residual income Study the things that the wealthy do and do that. Think about legacy, building legacy, and believe that you are worthy. You are worthy of having and doing more. Having and doing more. You are good ground. You have to believe that you are good ground. Sometimes we sow into so many other people and their soil, but sow into your own soil because you are good ground too. You are good ground too. Those would be my last encouraging words.
That's that young right there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I appreciate you. Appreciate Kingdom Principle-Based Business Strategist, Wealth Builder, Corporate Organizational Culture Advisor, Empowerment Speaker, and Founder CEO of Fortify the Business Launch Firm, Trudi B. Parson, MSHS, for sharing her story, encouraging words. She did it, you can do it. On that, I hope everybody have the rest of the MLK weekend. You did a lot for us. So enjoy yourself. Be safe. Relax a little bit, get some me time in. And until next time, we out of here.
313, Detroit's love, the Motor City. Detroit's love, can't nothing stop me. Detroit's love, I love my city. Detroit's love, that 313. Detroit raised me. Detroit